Hello, Ben.
Hi, Tracy.
Live from ngconf.
We are live from ngconf.
We are live from ngconf. And Ben and I are actually putting together our next talk. And I'm very excited about it because we're going to talk about a lot of things. But let's go through the things that we want to talk about. Are you ready?
No,
Yeah,
maybe.
you are.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So tell me about Scan, and then tell me why it's such a mind-boggling thing for people.
Okay.
Explain Scan and then real-world use cases. Let's go through our typical.
Well, Scan is one of the first operators people encounter where they don't really like comprehend what they're doing with it, but but like it's really you have this reducer, and Scan's responsible for maintaining like an internal state inside of your stream. So anytime you have state you want to keep updated with individual values, you want to use Scan.
Okay.
And especially if you want to know what that state is after it's updated.
So sorry, why do people get like so whatever about it?
Because it's the first operator that you try to explain to somebody that's a little confusing in that it uses this reducer function. And a lot of people haven't even used array reduce. And that also uses reducer functions. And the idea is that the first argument is the internal state of Scan. And the second argument is the new value coming in. And you're expected to return a new state that will be emitted and become the new internal state of Scan. So the next time a value comes in, it's called with that, and then the new value, and then you're expected to return a new state again. And people,
mind blown.
Yeah, sometimes their minds are blown.
But this is like one of the most basic things you should really learn and like wrap your head around. Like if you're doing RxJS, like find map, find filter.
Yeah.
Now really wrap your head around Scan.
Yeah, Scan is
like fundamentals.
Fundamentally important. Yeah, it's very, very important. There's a lot of you can do like a Redux style pattern with it. That enables people to join multiple streams of different types of events to update the same type of state. You can do a Redux
style pattern just with Scan.
Yeah.
Like you can basically, can you build an entire, like the Redux pattern? You remember how we've done like Redux pattern re-implementation in RxJS? Can you literally do that just with the Scan operator?
Yes, Scan, and you'd need a subject. But yeah.
That is pretty hot. I'm very excited about that. Okay, so let's talk about completion operators.
Okay.
Start with take.
So take, it just takes a certain count of values and then completes for you. So, and that's the
what completes? Like the stream completes?
It says, yeah, so you take some source observable, and that source observable, maybe it lasts forever, but if you say take 3, the resulting observable will be an observable of 3 values from that source, and then it will complete.
So the reason why these are called completion operators is because the end result, it like always completes with an end result.
Right.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. What would be a non-completion operator?
Pretty much everything except for take.
Because it
take
just
until.
changes. Everything else converts one observable to another. Yeah. It doesn't produce a value or an array or like.
None of them force completion. That's the real.
You're just like nexting. Next. Like everything else. Next.
Yeah, everything else next.
Except for this one completes.
Yeah, so takes just says give me so many and then force completion, or take until says wait for an emission from this observable and then force completion. Take while looks at each one, forces completion, and the last one is first, which is give me the first value that matches this thing, and then force completion. So these are the only operators that really do that. Those 4. So
tell me why or when you would use the differences between like take until, and take while.
So usually you want to use take until, honestly. And the reason for that is all of the other ones rely on the source observable to give you a value so they can analyze it or analyze something else and see if it wants to complete. Take until, on the other hand, waits for an outside notification that'll complete the observable. So you don't have to wait for one.
In a better, like more like.
Okay, let's just say if you had a WebSocket, right, and the WebSocket just randomly gives you values like once every 5 seconds or so.
I can say take until you get and take until
a button click.
Or take until 5 seconds.
Yeah, take until yeah.
I get the value 8.
So if you say no, because that would be take while. If you want to do take while, the value is not 8 would be basically what you would do in that case.
Oh, take while the value is not 8.
Yeah, so take while and first all analyze the incoming value or have something to do with an incoming emission to make a decision on whether or not to complete. But take
value meaning like it can be like an array or a string or like whatever.
Whatever's coming from the observable,
okay.
yeah, from the source.
So all three of those do that.
Yeah, all three of those rely on a value being nexted at it from a source to decide whether or not it should complete. But takeuntil, on the other hand, relies on a value nexted at it from some other observable to tell the source when to complete. So the difference would be like if you did a takeuntil, like a socket stream takeuntil button click. As soon as you click the button, it would immediately complete the socket stream. If you said
takeuntil the button click.
Yeah, so you would pass in like a stream of button clicks.
Would you say like to use takeuntil when it's like takeuntil an event instead, whereas all the other ones are takeuntil
an event.
Like wait for a value versus takeuntil is wait until an event.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
That's a much simpler way to put it. Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. Okay, so takewhile is takewhile a value doesn't equal X.
Yeah, you just kind of look and assert that the thing was true over and over again, and the minute it was false, then you complete.
So what anti-patterns do you see when using completion? I probably like takeuntil. I'm sure a lot of people are like takeuntil a value, just kind of like I just made that assumption right now.
I think the anti-pattern I see is people quite frequently will use takewhile when they really wanted to use takeuntil. So they'll do something like they'll say, they'll have their button flip a flag or something, and they'll say takewhile this flag is not flipped.
But they don't realize that you should actually be using takewhile for values.
Right. Well, they don't realize they should probably just be using takeuntil and just have an event come from the button and notify it that it needs to stop.
Ooh. Okay. So like, explain to me what that looks like in code then. Like, so what do they write when they use takewhile? Like, what is the code that they write versus what is the code that they could write? I guess if they just wrote the code for takeuntil, it would just be like takeuntil button click. Versus like when they say takewhile and it's this anti-pattern, then like what does that actually look like? Why can't they just use takewhile?
The reason you don't want to use takewhile is then you have to wait for another value to arrive on whatever the source is in order to decide whether or not you're gonna complete. So if another value never arrives on that WebSocket, let's say, then the WebSocket stays open forever. Where if you're using takeuntil, the instant it's notified that it needs to stop, it's just going to stop. It's going to complete.
So why do you think people use takewhile more than takeuntil?
Confusion. I don't think there's any other reason.
Okay, because they don't realize that takewhile is still waiting.
Yeah, they don't really think about the fact that it has to wait for a value to arrive.
Should we talk a little bit more about takeuntil, or do you feel like you really covered everything about takeuntil? I mean, it's just like so clear in my mind now.
Yeah. Why
I would use any of them.
Yeah. So I think we're good.
So
I think most people.
I could rewrite RxJS 8 now.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it. Make it better.
All right. You'll fix all my freaking changes.
Of course. Maybe we'll get Minko to do that.
Yes. Okay. Should we talk any more about completion operators? Any other things like people should like know?
Not really. I mean,
any anti-patterns with first?
First has some interesting semantics where like you can provide a default value, or like
first you can provide a default value.
Yeah. So with first, you can say first, and then you can pass an argument that is the default value if it doesn't find one. So if it gets all the way till the source completes and it never found a first value, it'll say, well, here's the default that I had.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, what first will do is it will error that it didn't find one. So
a lot of people don't provide the default, I'm assuming.
Right.
So then it just errors out.
Right.
Or it just, does it error out or never complete?
It errors. It errors that it didn't find one. So
like a lot of people just forget to do that because they don't realize that you can actually do that, or?
I think either some people, they just don't care. Like it's not always an anti-pattern, it's just a gotcha. Like it surprises some people. So it's just something to know about.
Yes. I remember my first gotcha. I was like, I did it right. I did all of RxJS right. Then I forgot to subscribe.
Yeah, I've done that. I did that in my workshop.
I do that like every single day.
I did it in my workshop though. I wrote a huge observable and I was like, let's go see it work. And then I ran the code and nothing happened.
You're like, oh God.
And then I was like, oh, I forgot to subscribe. I made a function and never called it, basically.
So multicasting.
Yes. subjects.
So can we talk a little bit about like all the things that people do that they shouldn't do because they should just use these two operators that we're about to talk about?
Sure.
Okay. Tell me all the, just like, don't do this. And then you can write a blog post that says never multicast using these things. And then everybody will just stop using it. And then you'll just be like, oh, nobody's using these operators. And then you can just deprecate them. And then there will only be share and share replay.
So basically it's like this. Unless your observables are totally synchronous, you should only be using share or share replay. Usually share.
Why?
Because people generally like, if you just use publish or just use multicast, then you have to convert to a connectable observable and connect, or you have to use ref count. Under the hood, it's got the same subject instance. So once it completes or errors, you can never retry it. You can never replay it.
When you use publish.
Or repeat it.
Or sorry, when you use what?
When you use publish. Any
When
of the
you use
publish.
publish,
Yeah,
okay.
so all the publish variants wrap the multicast operator. And under the hood, they have like a single instance of a subject. And once a subject is errored or completed, you can never use it again. And so you can't retry or repeat anything that's like publish ref count.
So why does that suck?
It sucks because you can't retry it if there's an error, for example.
Because it's a subject and you just YOLO.
Because it has a single instance of a subject that you can't replace under the hood. Now share, on the other hand, will automatically recycle the subject under the hood to allow you to resubscribe to the observable.
Because it's not just one instance of an object, not one instance of a subject under the hood.
It is a single instance. It's just that when it errors or completes, it will recycle it and put a brand new instance there, so that's not dead.
Okay. And then what about share replay?
Share replay, it's pretty much the same thing as share, with the only difference is that when it completes, so when it completes, it will keep the underlying replay subject. So the next subscriber will get all of the successful results in the successful completion. It only recycles the subject if it errors, basically. So you can retry it.
So like, what anti-patterns do you see or gotchas when using like share or share replay? Or is it more like everything else is a gotcha and you should just be using share and share replay?
So one gotcha is the default behavior of share replay. It does reference counting under the hood, but it keeps a reference count of 1 once you subscribe to it. And the reason for that is,
say that again.
All right, so it does reference counting. What reference counting is it says how many people have subscribed to me. If I have at least 1 subscriber, then I'm going to keep the connection active under the hood. I'm going to keep the observable alive.
Okay.
If I drop down to 0, then I'm going to unsubscribe from it and clean up. And in the case, the default behavior of share replay will keep it at 1. It'll go up to 1 when you first subscribe, and then it'll keep it there to make sure that it can go to completion, because it's like a caching optimization sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So then the next person that subscribes to it, if they subscribe a little afterwards, will get the cached value, or they'll get like the incoming value. There is a configuration object you can pass in to get it to go to more of the other shared behavior, where after the last subscriber unsubscribes, it'll recycle. So, but that's not the default behavior. So that's the only real gotcha. It surprises some people.
You like said a lot of words just now, and I got lost.
Yeah. I know.
I did. I was like, okay, I'm holding on, and then I.
But all right, the simplest version of this is 90% of the time you should just be using share.
Okay.
And the rest of the time you want to just do like a share replay 1 or something for like an HTTP request or something like that, and not really worry about what's going on.
Why share replay 1?
Because you usually only care about the last value, not the last like 3 values, the last n values. So share replay without an argument will cache every single value that it had nexted into it and replay those to new subscribers.
Oh, so share replay 1 just keeps the last thing,
right.
The last value.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just going to cache everything, and then shit's going to break.
Well, it'll just be probably more information than you needed when you subscribe to it. But
Does that make your app heavier? Or your cache heavier?
Yes, it would make the cache heavier.
It could, like, kill your site. So if you don't pass an argument, is that an argument? Am I saying that right? The one?
The one, yeah.
If you don't, see? So if you don't pass the argument, then, like, That's actually bad. So like really the anti-pattern or gotcha with shareReplay is that you really have to pass an argument in there. Otherwise, you're going to screw yourself.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, you're going to have a memory leak.
You could.
Is it called a memory leak?
It could be, depending on if it's like a never-ending stream of values, then yeah, that's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you'll have a memory.
I'm going to leak my memories.
Yeah, right out of your head.
Seriously. What other things do you want to talk about for multicasting? What else is like important?
So what's important to know about all the different multicast operators is that
wait, when you say all, do you mean shareReplay, or also publish and all the other ones?
Publish, multicast, all of these different variants. Okay. What's important to know about all of them is they all use subjects under the hood.
And that's important because you can only use subject once.
Right. Yeah.
Why else would you want to know that they use subjects under the hood?
Oh. I mean, it's really the primary use case for subjects in RxJS. But,
ooh, really?
Yeah, that's originally why it was kind of added. But it's a way to take one notification and notify many observers.
One notification and notify many observers. But I thought I liked subjects because the fact that it's an observer and an observable all at the same time. No? Yes,
I mean that is the other use case of it, right? Is you want to like imperatively kind of create an observer. Do we have viewers right now or someone watching this?
No, I haven't told people. I'll tweet it after.
Okay. I just didn't know if there'd be like questions.
When people would like
chat,
hear me asking you dumb questions.
Right, they hear me giving you dumb answers. So there's that.
Want to sing a song for them?
No.
This is the song that never ends.
Just goes on, my friends.
Some people started singing it,
not knowing what it was,
and they'll continue singing it
forever just because it's a song that never ends.
We're being quiet because there's...
Take until.
All right. Do we want to talk about anything else related to RxJS? No. Yes. Maybe.
Maybe.
Potentially. No. I'm turning it off now. That was fun.
It was.